All right, so we're going to give this one last shot. The last video you guys saw had me replacing the ball bearings in the Kansept Main Street with aftermarket washers from Flytanium. No, I'm sorry, not Flytanium, from Skiff blades. And the certainly has helped quite a bit with the retention. Has kind of slowed down the action, which I think is actually good in a knife with a blade of this weight. But there are times where when it closes, it's not fully engaging or it's bouncing out. But it's definitely in there a little tighter. It still comes out. So anyway, I was on Kansept's website and saw that they were selling replacement wires, Omega springs. And one of the things I noticed is their replacement Omega spring for the Main Street did not have the same structural appearance as the ones that we looked at when we took this knife apart. So it gave me an idea, maybe we could replace the springs with regular Omega springs. Now, if you remember in that first video I did, we already tried that, but we were using bug out springs, which are actually a little bit smaller. So I ordered these springs off of Amazon. It comes with two different sizes, a larger one and a smaller one. So we're going to take the opportunity to try to replace the springs and seeing whether it be the large or small that fits best in here, and see if it improves the retention and the detent on this knife. So if you guys stick with me, I'm going to take this apart and then we'll look at the springs that are in there and compare them to these replacement springs and try and get an idea of whether or not this is going to be useful or not. All right, so hang tight. I'm going to take it down to high speed so you don't have to watch all the action. I'll be back shortly. Okay, so here we are. I've broken down the knife. This is the spring that is on the Kansept OEM. And you can see here it has a fairly unusual shape with the, as it comes down in loops, there's this little divot here before it goes off to the little pin that goes into the inside of the liner. This here is one of the Amazon replacements. So if we look here and kind of line these up, you can see that the Kansept has more, I don't know if you want to say width this direction, which means that if I was to put this one on, which is fairly similar to the Omega spring on the bug out, it actually would have less tension, even though the spring feels firmer. So now here is the large version that is on the Amazon, and you can see this one is actually a little bit larger. Now, assuming this will even fit on the knife, question is, will it have more or less tension? So what I'm going to pose is that we start with this one, and we actually need the other side of it. And we're going to go ahead and place this on the knife. There. And now one of the concerns you have to look at here is how much space is available on the scale for this spring to be riding in. So you can see there the spacing. And it appears that if I was to put this on here, this wire is actually larger than the space provided on the inside of this scale. So imagine this scale with this here. Yep, it does not fit in any way, shape, or form in there. That's a shame. So that is unlikely to be very beneficial. But let's see how it would feel to be in there. I guess you always have the possibility that you could route out more spacing on the inside of that scale, but that seems like a lot of work to do for any pocket knife, much less one that's not really like a custom or anything to that effect. Oh, well, that definitely creates a heck of a detent there. So let's do this, and let's put our, at least temporarily, yeah, that's just not, that's going to basically grip. You can see there the scale is actually lifted by the spring. That's not going to work. So that's a no-go on that one, unfortunately. So let's try the smaller one. Maybe we'll get lucky. Interesting. We'll see. Okay, so we got the pivot back in. Again, keep in mind, guys, this is running on washers, not on bearings. See that? Same deal. Yeah, so when you really loosen it, the springs actually, it again makes very little sense to me at all. Other than to think that the scales must be putting some tension on those springs or on the glide track. I think at this point, probably the next step is to actually order Kansept springs and pray that maybe since they designed the knife and now their replacement springs don't look like this, that maybe they have improved on the springs or the tension that's on the springs. And they only cost like $8, so it's probably worth just ordering them and saving these backups for some bug outs. All right? Thanks, guys. Take care. See you soon. Okay, so a quick little follow-up. I went ahead and took this apart again. Basically what I do is I took the aftermarket springs and basically stretched them almost flat. Then compressed them back into shape and installed them. So they definitely have more traction. Now I don't know with the memory of the spring whether if it'll lose that extra tension over time. Then I put the scales back on, essentially taking every screw and just tightening it to the very first traction point. Then in terms of the pivot, I took the pivot, loosened it. Now, before I changed the springs, I actually had to have the pivot so loose that you could move it. You can hear that, listen. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but anyway, I had to have the pivot so loose you could push it back and forth. Now I'm able to turn it just so slightly so that there is no back and forth play. Okay, oh, tiny bit. Okay, none. Now, you can hear it rattle. And if I shake it hard enough and long enough, it comes out. But before it was like, well, see, it was almost like the easiest possible shake, and off it came. And the fact it just doesn't slam shut every time and bounce back out, that's what I was doing before, slamming and bouncing out. Pa-pow, pa-pow. I really like that. Now, I can do it if I hammer it, but see, it's staying in there, right? So I think I'm going to let this one fly for a bit like this. I actually think that if this knife came like this with this kind of action and that level of detent, I'm not sure I would have a real complaint with that. You know, it's not perfect, but I'm not sure it would even really been so obvious to me. So there you go. There's the follow-up. I don't know if this saga's done. Like I said, I'm going to order the springs directly from Kansept. I may try some other springs if I could find some wolf springs. They tend to have a reputation of being a lot more tense. I tried the springs that came with the Kaiser drop bear, the extra springs, and they definitely made things worse. So I think this is going to take some more time, some more experimentation. I mean, these sets of springs from Amazon cost like $8. So, and I got 4 sets of springs, and at least I got some backups for any of my crossbar lock. I don't think I have any crossbar locks that need these big ones, but I guess I have them just in case. So anyway, thanks for continuing on with the saga. We will continue to make strides towards getting this Main Street where we want it to be. All right? Thanks, guys. Take care. Bye. Thanks for joining us today, and hit that subscribe button. See you soon.